MLS Aces Podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. I am joined by Jason Vivang. Jason, it's episode 276. That's a lot of episodes every single time I see it.
That's like what, 5 seasons worth at this point?
So I just had to do this a few weeks ago when I was on another podcast talking about it. I forget the stuff sometimes. January 2017, I think, was the first episode officially of the podcast. So
But I started at like episode 60 or something.
you started 2019? Question mark on that?
2018?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Honestly, I'm not sure.
They all blur together at this point.
Exactly, at a certain point. But yeah, so for those of you who are only joining now, yeah, January 2017, I did this thing. And here we are, 275 episodes later. So 275 episodes later, we're talking MLS Cup playoffs and we're talking conference finals leading into MLS Cup. We're almost at the MLS Cup preview, which is mind-blowing. That this 2023 season's almost at a wrap.
And then we're going to news podcasts for
exactly
2.5 months.
I think we'll try to make the off-season episodes a little bit more fun rather than just catching up on news. I feel like we said the same thing last year, but we actually...
Last year we didn't do as good of a job, but 2 years ago, our off-season pods were pretty good.
Let's go back to 2 years ago efforts.
We were committed to like doing some wacky ideas over the off-season.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It entertains me a little bit more. Okay, so...
2 years ago, we did all... Wait. 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, when we did all our starting 11s with just random parameters.
I love that. I mean, that's always
It was like under 25 European U.S. players or something.
Yeah, it was
did a bunch of random ones or like MLS.
It was you had to have 11 of the same player. Like it was fun stuff. Like I think we could do more of that. Let's try to do more of that this off season. I think we'll try to also do some interviews and stuff this off season as well for sure, just to break it up too. The one thing that what'd you say?
So they don't hear our voices.
So it's not just me talking. It's not just you talking. It's other people's voices, and it's probably way more entertaining. But listen to the podcast. We're great. The last thing that I just quickly want to say is be right back.
What?
Sorry, Jason.
So I'm just gonna. I'll try and fill up these 5 minutes while Tom. So Tom is taking cookies out of the oven. Good for him. You know, everybody likes a good cookie. I'm not the biggest cookie fan, but I feel like you want to talk about these notes though.
No, you're good, Jason.
All right, I'm gonna go into Lucho Acosta being named MLS MVP. I think we all kind of felt like that was coming. I think that was not our predictions, but
Jason, you're good. You're fine. I'm here.
Oh, he's back already. I just started talking about Lucho Acosta. That was pretty quick. I mean, you might have just burned your hands off, but
no, it's fine. Do we want to keep you talking, or do you want me to edit it out?
It really wasn't a lot of interesting things, but it wasn't long enough for it to be unnecessary. But it was early on in the pod, so everyone's going to hear it.
That's fine. We'll keep it in. I had to go with which
I said Tom's getting cookies out of the oven, which everyone likes cookies, although I'm not actually that big of a fan of cookies.
Yeah.
I'm just repeating myself. We'll go to the MVP talk because that's what I started.
So I had to take cookies out of the oven. My wife put cookies in the oven, left for dinner with her friend. I'm doing a podcast. There's that explanation. So sorry about that, everyone. But it's Christmas time and it's holiday time and all that fun stuff. Yeah, right. MVP talk. Yeah. Lucho Acosta was named MVP of the league. He was our MVP, so he kind of lined that up pretty nice. MLS
That's what I was trying to say. I was like, he wasn't our prediction, but he was our
exactly
MVP.
MLS Aces MVP, more prestigious than MLS MVP. Actually, but he was named.
Do we have our prediction somewhere? Is it in that spreadsheet?
Oh, true. I forgot about
what we ended up. I don't think we were that close. None of us picked Lucho.
No, I got Gazdag. Vaughn picked Ricky Pooch, and you picked Sebastian Driussi. So.
I gotta stop looking at these things, man. It just reminds me of how bad I was when picking Austin.
I mean, just to push forward, I guess, through the news and notes here, so people can actually get to the soccer talk. MLS also named their best 11: Roman Berkey, Walker Zimmerman, Matt Miazga, Tim Parker, Hector Herrera, Hani Mukhtar, Thiago Almada, Lucho Acosta, Dennis Bouanga, Cucho, and Georgios Giamakis. Do you have anyone off that best 11 that you're like?
I'm curious how that 11 lines up with what our final MLS 11 was. MLS Aces.
What our best 11 was?
Yeah, because I gotta say we were pretty close. I think
we were pretty close. I know we didn't have Walker Zimmerman. Let me pull it up real quick.
I don't feel like any of these are surprises though. These guys are. When you're talking about best players at certain positions, you can't really not mention almost any of them. Like any of them, really.
So our team of the season, the only difference was we had Kai Wagner. Well, so okay, look, the major differences here, we played a back four in our team of the season. We kept it as functional as possible.
Which just makes more sense.
Yes, which I think it's more of an us thing than anything else. So we had Kai Wagner and Brooks Lennon as the best left and right back over the course of the MLS season. We had Obi Nwodo in there.
Who were our center backs? Was it
Miazga and Parker, so that's the same. We had Berkey and Net, so that's the same. Hector Herrera.
We had Almada for sure. And
we had Almada technically as a winger. We had Acosta. We had Bouanga. We had Cucho. So really the only differences between the MLS Aces best 11 and the actual MLS best 11 was Hani, Giamakis, and that's
Zimmerman. Technically Zimmerman.
Oh, and Zimmerman. Sorry.
But so if we had done a back three, we would. I don't know. We would probably have the formation kind of played into the decisions.
My only thing is I would not put Walker Zimmerman as a 2023 best 11 player. Yes, Nashville had one of the best defenses in the league, but Jack Mayer was the best center back on the course of the season, right? Walker Zimmerman's going to get the reward because of reputation, and it's totally deserved based off reputation and his actual ability. I think talent-wise, he's probably the best, if not one of the best center backs in the league. But I mean, look, I'm not going to.
I like how they were able to fit Almada, Bouanga, Cucho, and Giacomakis in the same starting 11.
And yeah, I mean, yeah. Imagine that team actually running at you. They wouldn't defend for shit, but I mean, they would. They
went with the back three.
Exactly, right? It would just be Miazga, Zimmerman, and Parker just cleaning it all up. I mean, look, could I argue a few names here and there? Yeah, but we've gone over our best 11 stuff. We've gone over those opinions a few episodes ago when we announced the MLS Aces best 11. If you want that conversation, go back to those episodes. There's MLS Aces Team of the Season and award winners blogs on the MLSAces.com website. You can check out that stuff. Those conversations and information's out there. I'm not gonna dive too deep into this, especially with where we are in the playoffs are probably more important conversation. But I'm gonna quickly burn through these news and notes around MLS. Jason, interrupt me if you have anything you want to say. We'll keep that pretty similar as what we do. Atlanta United, they announced that they're re-signing center back Efrain Morales for the 2024 season. He's a 19-year-old center back who's only played for Atlanta United 54 games played for them, and he is also a Bolivian youth national team player, so he'll be around.
I think that's sort of notable because Miles Robinson might not be there. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe it's the kid's time to step up. Either way, I think Atlanta United needs center backs in 2024, whether it's Miles or whether it's anyone else. They're gonna need. They're gonna
keep Almada. I mean, I feel like we were definitively like, no way, no chance. But at this point, like I almost feel like his value's gone down, which doesn't make any sense.
There's been didn't someone say it from the Atlanta United front office recently that the plan is for Almada to be there in 2024?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure that's their plan, but if they get 15 million, 20 million,
well,
30 million.
I can confirm through sources the number that they are going to sell him for and won't go under. 30 million. They won't go under 30 million, apparently. So
I think that's a good number to not dip below for a guy like Almada. especially because they can retain him and get best 11 quality pretty much every single week.
I mean, I think 100%. I agree. I think 30 million. It's crazy to think about in MLS terms, right? Because we've never been at that point. But I think it's 100% fair when you look at the world market as well, right? The dude's an Argentine national team player. He's a World Cup winner.
I mean, I think 30 million is just where we're like. Look at where the league is going internally. I think in overall, we're just seeing growth at every level. I'm like rumors are there's going to be a fourth DP spot pretty soon. Hopefully that includes a salary cap increase. Like I think that's the biggest thing because with so many games, so many competitions at this point, it's like you need to bump that up for people to have depth to actually manage these competitions. But like with that becomes better on-field product, better players, higher sell fees. So 30 million it's definitely like the stepping stone to the continued.
I have nothing.
The next stair up the staircase.
Yeah, exactly. I have nothing to disagree with you there. I think you're right about Almada. I think you're right about the potential rule changes we're going to see this offseason. I think you're right. And if we want to talk about,
thanks, man.
I got nothing else. I completely agree with your points. And if we want to continue to talk about DPs, then the New England Revolution, they made some DP news recently. They fully acquired winger Thomas Chancalay. It's one of those two. I apologize, Tomas. They permanently acquired him from Racing Club in Argentina. He will come in as a DP. He had a pretty successful. I'm not pretty successful. He had a very successful second half of a season with New England, especially through kind of just shit going on with the club. Personally, you give me Chancalay on one wing, a healthy Dylan Barrero next season on another wing, and Carlos Hill playing how Carlos Hill does in Major League Soccer. New England could be a very attractive head coaching job for whoever wants to sign up there. I think
New England is one of those. They're not that far removed from record points in a season and trophies. So I think it makes sense. Like if I was a top coach, I'd probably be looking at that job. You come into MLS with a team that, like, despite a lot of issues, I mean, they still finished fifth and probably would have finished higher had that not blown up, towards the latter half of the season. So
for sure,
out of any of the open spots, I would say that's arguably the most attractive spot.
I mean, you're killing it, Jason. I got nothing else. I got nothing else here.
If I'm a coach and New England calls me over and like the Fire, I didn't want to use the Fire in this case, but I had to because one that popped up, or Charlotte, I'm going to New England.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that point. And there's the rumors circling around that Bruce Arena might be lined up to be Charlotte's new manager. So,
I saw the Red Bulls were looking at it too.
I mean, who wouldn't? Like,
are we going to hear like what actually happened if this?
I don't know.
Wouldn't the next team want to know? Unless they already know and it's just NDA shit.
I bet you this offseason we'll hear a little bit more. And also as part of the whole deal, like, Bruce Arena and the club that wants to hire him needs to put in paperwork with the league and get him reinstated. And I'm sure if he does get reinstated, there will be a suspension tied to it. Like, there's going to come things with the Bruce Arena hiring for sure. And we'll find out more. But again, for a later point, not right now.
For the offseason when he does inevitably get picked up.
Yeah, exactly. When he takes over as Charlotte's third manager in 3 seasons. Two more teams announced their season-ending moves: Colorado Rapids and St. Louis City SC. To me, no one really that was like that shocking that's on the outs for either club. To like Oliver Larraz, he's a young central midfielder for Colorado. He was arguably the best player in MLS Next Pro last season. Kind of shocking to see him not get his extension picked up by the club. I know they're in talks with him and they're going to try to potentially bring him back, but that's just a young piece that I feel like Colorado could use. But that's just my only player I wanted to really point out here. Do you have anyone?
For Colorado, it's like we're going to see a brand new team. There's a lot of guys out. So
which is needed.
They're one of the off seasons, I guess, to watch. Are they going to finally start making some good moves? Or are we going to just see? You know, the best part about it is Darren Yappy is just chilling over there, and he's going to just keep improving.
Jason, you turn into like a very big fan of very random players.
It's not random. You just wait, man. I'm just on the train before most people.
Look, you can be the conductor, co-conductor, whatever you got to be for Darren.
Just wait till he bangs in 20 goals next year for the Rapids.
I don't know if the Rapids will ever have a 20-goal scorer. So that's and it's not a shot at the Rapids fan base or anyone within the organization, other than I think they have the worst owner in Major League Soccer. So
what's crazy is that owner has won so many championships with other teams in the last 5 years.
I mean,
I think every single team he owns has won a trophy.
Except for Colorado.
Arsenal too, right?
Yeah. I don't know. You're probably better at that. Did they win any like smaller trophy?
Yeah, but who gives a shit about those?
It's a trophy. Trophy's a trophy.
They probably won a small trophy, but like the Nuggets won, the Rams won, the Avalanche won.
Hockey? I don't got that.
They have one of the best teams in hockey. The Rams are now on like a downswing, kind of, but they won. And the Nuggets are still the Nuggets. Like, they're going to be good. So
I do feel for the Colorado Rapids fan base. I do have to say.
I'd be so pissed, dude.
I would hate to be a Rapids fan.
I'd be furious. And I have, arguably one of the other worst situations. They're arguably better than we have been in the last 20 years.
They've had one good season in the last, 5 years where they just hit.
We have made the playoffs, I think, twice in the last decade.
We always go back to the Chicago Fire not making the playoffs. That's how these episodes have been going recently. I'm fine with it.
I got to stop bringing up the Fire. It gets too dark.
All right, let's steer away from the bad teams like Colorado, Chicago, New York City. Let's steer away from them. Let's go into the good teams.
We just have to mention our own teams.
There's 4 teams left in Major League Soccer for the 2023 season. The Eastern Conference semifinals and Western Conference semifinals were interesting. There's a lot of points to talk about.
Someone was pretty good at the predictions. Another one of us was pretty bad at them.
Yes. So let's dive into it. Let's talk. Let's start Eastern Conference and then we'll go over to the West and then we'll talk about the conference finals. So Columbus Crew, they go on the road. They upset Orlando City 2-0. Just to kind of give some high-level breakdown of the match, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. In the 77th minute, a red card or a second yellow was given to Rodrigo Schlegel, so the red card followed. Personally, to me, I think the yellow cards were fair. As Schlegel, you're a defender. You kind of have to know after you were given an early yellow, you have to play a little cautiously. It's only the 77th minute. I think the Schlegel probably would take back that second card late in the game, especially to try to keep Orlando in it. But whatever. The point is, red card in the 77th minute, Orlando goes down to 10 men. 93rd minute, Christian Ramirez, who only subbed in 2 minutes prior, he puts away a goal. Some great defensive pressure from Aiden Morris, won a ball back, a little interplay with Cucho. Cucho passes the ball back to Morris. Morris makes the run to the end line, puts the ball in the back post, and Ramirez kind of hits a Hilton 1-0. 118th minute, we're talking stoppage time at this point. Cucho from midfield, Gallese is trying to do everything he can to keep Orlando's season alive. I get it. But Gallese is at midfield. Cucho catches it, puts a ball home from midfield, 2-0. And that's how Columbus do the damn thing. This might be the easiest game to talk about of all 4. I'm going to be real honest with you. I think Columbus was the better team. I think Columbus stepped up defensively, which last week I know I was harsh on. I put a lot of words of I don't think they can do it, and they did.
I feel like every team in this semifinals stepped up pretty well defensively.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would also
honestly,
say
I would say at high level, I feel like the goalkeepers in these 4 games high quality. Like, if
Patrick
you told me that
Schulte,
there'd be 5 goals total,
yeah, in these
I
games.
would have been like, there's no way. And one of those goals really was just the second one in this game, which just came because Orlando had to do something at that point.
Exactly.
They were just full on going all out. And like you say, Gulise got caught out. So, like, that just happens when you literally need a goal in 2 minutes.
And that's what I'm saying is I'm not going to hold that against him. Like
Mhm.
he was doing what he could for his team as a leader and everything like that. So that's the point one. I'm not going to hold that against Gallese or anything like that. But yeah, goalkeepers and all these matchups for the winning sides were good. Like Patrick Schulte was great in this game. The thing that I want to give you some credit on, because you said this last week, and I'll let you take your roses after this. You said
I did well predicting this game, I will say.
You were concerned about Orlando being able to create, score goals, because they haven't really done it as of late. And I said that against the weaker Columbus Crew defense that they'd be able to figure it out. Well, they didn't. And a young attack wasn't able to figure it out. And an experienced Columbus Crew team, Columbus Crew attack, got the job done. And I mean, kudos to you. You had this one right from last week, so I'll let you go.
I said last week, essentially, like, because Orlando was coming off beating Nashville, right? I think it was 1-0. 1-0 at
1-0, 1-0. Yeah, literally.
So my point is the drop-off essentially between Nashville's offense, or the Columbus's offense. Nashville's to Columbus? I don't know which way I'm doing this wrong. But
It's
basically, is Columbus's offense, the difference between Columbus and Nashville's offense, greater than the difference between Nashville and Columbus's defense? And I said, I think it is, right? I think the offense is way more fluid with Columbus and was going to be much harder to defend, which ended up being true. They handled the pressure well. I felt like Orlando going into the game was like maybe recently not as creative, I guess, in attack.
Yeah. We didn't see much from Facundo recently. We haven't seen much of Duncan McGuire recently. Yeah. We haven't seen much of Ivan Angulo, like Mauricio Pereira. A lot of these guys really weren't creating how they've done all season long to finish with the second best points in the league.
And I think you saw it especially on that first goal where it's like anyone on Columbus is a threat in that final third. You have Christian Ramirez come on, like you said, 2 minutes prior, and he gets the goal. Just a sitter, essentially. Like, it was a very easy goal because they just worked that defense really well in that moment. Obviously, the red card comes into play. Like, I actually kind of felt like Columbus did not impress me as much after that red card as I felt like they should have with that man advantage. And I that's like, if I had to nitpick something, it'd be like I felt like they'd be a little bit more dominant with the extra man. They obviously ended up coming out with the win, and like that kind of attack that got them that first goal, I think they could do that to any team in the league. Like, I don't know if there's a single team that's like that specific situation, like those type of things is just something that I feel like in MLS you don't see that type of connection with all of these threatening players that often.
I'll say this just on that last point. I don't know about any defense in the league, whatever. I don't know if there's any defense left this season where Columbus can't do that too. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we'll talk about Hell is Real in a little bit. We'll talk about Cincinnati's back line and all that. But I think Columbus has the ability to score in bunches. And like you said, it can come from various different places. Like Aiden Morris hitting the end line and putting the ball into the box. Like, it's your D-mid, Like, I think this Columbus attack is special. And I think as long as how Wilfried Nancy is the kind of playing this defense, and I do think a lot of that stems from Mo Farsi being a better right wing back at this current point than Julian Gressel, I think things are going to work out in favor for Columbus moving forward. Obviously the Cincinnati matchup is going to be tough, and the Hell is Real matchup is going to be tough, but I think Wilfried Nancy's tactical adjustments in this game were fantastic. And again, yes, a red card for, a minimum of 13 minutes in this one that Columbus really took advantage of, and I think at the end of the day that was the deciding factor. And again, Rodrigo Schlegel probably is probably mad at himself for that moment because it was a bad second yellow card. But it's the playoffs and stakes are high, you know.
I think also Columbus sort of plays defense with their offense almost. Like they have the possession lead in this game pretty handily. It was 56% according to Botmop. They had pretty much they led in every good statistical category you can, right? Created more chances, created more shots, had more passes, accurate passes. Like, and that's something that I honestly think they can do against Cincinnati. I think we're not going to get into that preview yet, but I think the way Columbus plays is, like you're saying, D-mid, Aiden Morris is way up. Like, Wilfried Nancy has a system in place where I feel like where we've seen other teams struggle with roles and where to be and connections, it seems to me like Columbus knows their roles, knows their places on the field. If Aiden Morris pushes up and they didn't score that goal, I have full belief that someone was back there filling in that hole. So, yeah. I mean, I think that is where you see the difference between like these teams that are now pushing further into the tournament is in towards MLS Cup is just like where are you connecting with and how is your team kind of rotating players on the field, because that's at the end of the day so important in these games. Like, you're not going to win just by going defense to midfield to attack to mid, like you have to play a somewhat freestyle still to kind of work through some of these defenses and I don't know, connect to your other attackers.
No, for sure. Right. And I think Columbus plays a great style. And I think that's what you saw of Nancy's Montreal side last year. I think that's what you're seeing. I wouldn't say a more talented roster with Nancy in 2023. And I'm sure, 2024 is only going to get better when you have more time with all these guys. I really like Columbus. I think they're the most well-rounded squad left. But
they lost Lucas Zelarayan midseason. I don't even think you could say they skipped a beat at all. Like, they look exactly like a I don't even know, formidable team still.
I think losing Zelarayan almost unlocked Cucho to a next level, if that makes sense. I think
that's totally right. I mean, look at if you probably looked at the stats and you kind of cut the season in two, I would argue his second half was probably far superior.
Exactly, right? Like, do I think this team was probably just as good or maybe slightly worse with Zelarayan? Yes, but I think getting rid of Zelarayan, bringing in Rossi, and unlocking Cucho, I think getting Cucho on the ball more.
I'm going to make a comparison, and tell me if you think this is crazy. But, like, do you feel like Columbus with Zelarayan was similar to Nashville with Hani, where it's like everyone knows number one, this is the guy? Or and now with Cucho, it kind of opens up more. Like, I feel like Rossi has more room. I feel like a lot of these guys just have more room. And I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Zelarayan because he's an incredible player. He was incredible with Columbus.
Yeah.
And they were obviously a very good team. So, I mean, I don't know if that's even
I'm going to say no to that point. I don't think it's the same thing because I do think, right, like Columbus, I think they just played differently, but I still think Cucho got his chances. I think Alexandru Matan got his early chances. Christian Ramirez was scoring early. So it's not like
it's not like a one-man show.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think at moments Zelarayan made it a one-man show, but I do think Zelarayan disappeared at points.
I do think Zelarayan is more of a one-man show than Cucho as a leader.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of comes down to individual ability as well. I feel like Cucho kind of plays off of others a little bit better, whereas Zelarayan could just wow you, just take your breath away with like a dribble and a shot or something. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's just all fit within the system, and I just personally think Zelarayan fit less into Wilfried Nancy's system than what we're seeing right now with Rossi fitting into the system and how that's changed Cucho's game and everything like that. You know, I really like this Columbus side is what I'll pretty much leave it at with that. Let's talk about their in-state rivals. Let's talk about the other team right now in the Eastern Conference and the team that they're going to be facing this upcoming weekend, FC.
None of the rest of these games were controversial at all.
No, we're not going to talk about VAR and cards and everything like that at all. So FC Cincinnati, they squeak past the Philadelphia Union at home with a late game winner. Pretty much the two main points here is stoppage time, 90+4 on a set piece. A ball finds Ian Murphy in the box, who taps it to Yerson Mosquera to put it past Andre Blake for the late winner. The real conversation is what everyone's going to talk about, is the only thing people are going to care about is, was Ian Murphy offside? Was he offside? Was he onside? Whatever you want to call it. You and I texted about this, so I'm sure we'll repeat some points from our text message. But do you wanna go first on your thoughts of so let's just start with point one. Was Ian Murphy offside to you?
I see. Oh man, this is tough because when we were texting, like, it isn't black and white. Like, my point during our messages was he's offsides based on the angle I was shown, right? Because to me that looks offsides, right? And I don't have the technology, you know, in my house to start drawing lines on the field and stuff and getting all that down. But I think my biggest point, and it kind of goes for the Houston game as well, it's like, if we're seeing the angle that they're seeing and that's the one they're using to finalize these calls,
yes,
then to me that was offside. Now, if there were 5 more angles that we didn't see, and there was one more directly straight on or overhead or something, like, then there's a very good chance it was on. Like, the more I look at it, like, when I first saw it, I was like, there's no way that's a goal, right? Like, I watched it live. I was like, he looks a mile off. The more you look at it, you can see that it's actually pretty close.
No, it was very close.
Which it ends up being very close. So I kind of see, to your point, why they didn't overturn it, right? Because they didn't call it offsides, right?
So that's my point. I'll dive into my point now. And look, I think overall it's going to be everyone's opinion. Personally, I think FC Cincinnati got away with one, but this is why I think they got away with one. So the point of VAR, and let me just get to the point first. The point of VAR is to overturn a call on the field if there is something blatantly obvious that is shown that they can overturn that call, correct? So
I feel like I'm not saying you're wrong, but I feel like VAR is there to get the call right regardless.
I think and I'm not like nitpicking. I think if you look at the rules of the game, like the specific like rule book, and you look at what VAR does, it's to what's the correct word?
Correct mistakes or something that are made, human error, essentially.
Yeah, but there's a specific wording, and I texted it to you like 700 times.
Clear and
obvious.
Yeah.
Clear and obvious. It's something that, thank you. It's something that's clear and obvious. And on the play on the field, the assistant referee did not raise his flag that Ian Murphy was offside. So that is the reason why on the field, the ball went in the back of the net. It's called the goal. Again, to your point, if they had another angle or something like that showed that it was maybe not clear and obvious, I'm not saying even Murphy was onside or offside, but to a point where Ian Murphy, it wasn't clear and obvious that he was on or off, you have to keep the goal. You have to keep what was called on the field. But if they're going based off of that one still shot that we've seen
that everyone's seen, like, that one to me,
is clear and obvious that Ian Murphy was offside. But to your point, maybe VAR has their own angle that hasn't been shown. I would think it would be shown, but I
would think it would be shown. Also, I feel like, in my experience, the angle that is shown is typically the one that is used, right? Like, I can't really think of many times where I've seen VAR come into play and the angle, like, they just pull a random angle. Like, I feel like the one that they're showing us is the one they're using.
I don't love it when they don't even draw the lines on the field because I feel like those are somewhat necessary at least. Like, but again, like you don't even see the foot of the defensive player. Like,
Yeah.
It's really tough. I think looking back, I probably would have called it offsides, but like those margins are that that's what it is. What it is, right? Philly
Exactly.
also could have scored. I guess I don't know.
No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, right? Like clearly, Philadelphia also didn't do enough on the road to get the job done.
I thought Philly played a pretty good game, and it just wasn't enough. I honestly was. I was kind of disappointed with a lot of the teams. Like I feel like not just this game, but all four. I felt like I was watching, and I was just like, where's the quality that we've seen all year from these teams?
Exactly.
Like it just kind of evaporated, and maybe it was just a defensive round of games. I don't know, but it was really. I guess disappointed isn't like the perfect word, but it was weird to me to be like, this. I was expecting a lot more goals, a lot more attacking success.
I think especially even if we're talking Philly specifically, what we've seen from Philly in the last few games, not even like overall throughout the season, right? Like we talked about their attacking trio and their attacking trio being hot, and it was weird not to see it.
Yeah, where goals can literally come from any of those guys, right?
100%. And I have to give credit to FC Cincinnati's midfield, the back line, everything for really shutting it down. I mean, like, yes, there was chances, and I think Celentano played really well in net. But for the most part, I think without Matt Miazga, without Obi Nwodo, FC Cincinnati went out there and they put in a very good team performance to shut down Philadelphia's attack. Again, the game-winning goal is the big question mark here. But, I mean, personally, I'm going to leave it at this for fans to at least get my opinion on it. Personally, Ian Murphy was offside. The goal should not have counted. I think Cincinnati got away with one. But if
Blake had a good game, I will say.
Yes.
Outside of that, I mean, but no, yeah.
Yes, I can agree with that. But if we're talking about the rules of VAR and how VAR are being called, they got away with one because of the rules of VAR. And I think then that needs to be the conversation of how can we change VAR and for 2024 and in the future, but that's not a conversation we're having right now. At least I don't want to have that conversation. Exactly. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add to Cincinnati or that call on the field or anything like that?
I don't want to like just keep beating it down. I agree. I think it just I don't know. It kind of sucked, but
like
if you're a Philly fan, like you're probably feeling pretty screwed over, which like I get, but I don't know. It's tough.
It's tough.
I don't have a lot to say because it's like I don't know what to say, right? Like I would have been pissed as well. Like that to me is offsides. We both said it. Like to them it wasn't, and that was the margin in that one.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for how the rules of the game call it, it's not, which is clearly wrong. If that's the call that we've seen, and that's that. I mean, if I'm a Philly fan, I'm pissed off. I'm gonna, be salty all off season. I mean, Philly fans normally are because they're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. And I mean, that's fine from a NYCFC fan point of view. But
you are just going for the jugular.
Look, bro, I'll burn Philly bridges. That's fine. Great stadium though. I do like Subaru Park. Do we want to preview the Eastern Conference Final, or do we want to dive into the Western Conference games?
I was going to say, I think we should go right to the Eastern Conference Final.
Do it then. Eastern Conference Final. Hell is real. FC Cincinnati hosting the Columbus.
I really wanted this. My heart was going for this the whole time, and I just didn't pick Cincinnati. And like, I just wanted this since the beginning. This is an epic conference final.
Do you want to know a fun fact that I learned from MLS Gone Wild on Twitter? This is the first MLS conference final in the playoffs that is held. That is, the two teams are from the same state. So, fun fact for you.
That is a fun fact, but like, there's not that many options.
I would think like at some point San Jose and the Galaxy would have met in a conference final,
or LA and LAFC.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Red Bulls and
NYCFC.
I mean,
I guess they're not in the same state, right? Are they
yeah,
considered?
true. You're very right about that. Where is Red Bull Arena located? New Jersey. I mean, you said it, not me, so that's fine. Red Bull
I mean,
fans
it
can
is
go
New
after you.
Jersey. Wait,
Yeah.
Harrelson, New Jersey.
Yeah, you're right. Again, you said it, not me. That's fine. I'm not getting in trouble.
I'm just saying facts. They can come at me all they want. These are just straight up facts. Is it that I'm just gonna say, where is the stadium? I'll just go Google it.
Jason's turning into a secret NYCFC fan here. I love it. Let me quickly run through some facts here, and then we'll break it down. So FC Cincinnati in their last 5 games, undefeated with 3 wins and 2 draws. Columbus in their last 5, 4 wins, 1 loss. All time, Columbus holds the series record with 6 wins, 4 draws, and 3 losses. But this season, the series is all tied up with a win and a draw each. Cincinnati, they kind of had, I guess, their MVP, Lucho Acosta, be really the only standout against Columbus this season. Lucho did score 2 goals over the course of their 2 games against Columbus. Over their last 5 games against Lucho, again, Lucho's been hot, 2 goals and an assist. Alvaro Barreal, 3 goals and an assist. Columbus over, their last 5 games. Cucho has 5 goals in 5 games. Rossi has a goal and 3 assists in their last 5. Nagby's contributing, Matan's contributing, even Amundsen, shout out NYCFC, Amundson's contributing on the back line. So including the playoffs, FC Cincinnati has a home record of 15 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. That's pretty damn good. Including the playoffs, Columbus has a road record of 5 wins, 5 draws, and 9 losses. Nick Hagland, still same thing that we've been saying. He's going to be out for the playoffs for Cincinnati. Matt Miazga does return from suspension. Obi Nobuodo is probably still the biggest question mark still. He did not play in the game against Philly, so is he going to return? Is he going to be at 100%? And Columbus, no real major, new suspensions or injuries or anything like that. So, I mean, that's the high-level history kind of this season rundown of it. But when you hear hell is real conference finals, Jason, I mean, you said you wanted it. Tell me why you wanted it.
I think it comes down to this, right? I pulled up the game because I wanted to know the exact date. August 20th of this year, 2023. I think it was right after Zelarayan left Columbus. I want to say that. I'm not 100% sure on that. Columbus went into Cincinnati. I think this was in Cincinnati. Yep. And kicked their ass. There was no Miazga in that game, but pretty close to full strength.
It is true.
Yeah, 3-0. So they're coming back to your stadium, Cincinnati. How are you going to respond, right? Because nothing else matters but this game right now, right? Hell is real. Great rivalry. We've seen some fun games in the past.
It's been the best one of this season, 100%.
Both teams are obviously good, right? Like you can say the team forms, but like they're in the third round of the tournament. So
yeah,
the form is going to look good. Obviously, both teams are. I don't know. I would almost say like both teams are somewhat limping in off of not my favorite results.
I mean, Columbus has to be feeling better than Cincy, I'd think, but
well, yes. I think that Obi injury could be a lot worse in this game than it was against Philly.
I'd argue that, but that's fine. I think.
Well, I mean, if he comes back and he's healthy, like sure, but I think Columbus is better equipped to punish a non-100% defensive mid.
So you're picking Cucho, Rossi, and Matan over Gajdag, Carranza, and Ure is what you're telling me.
That is what I'm telling you.
Okay, that's fine. You're allowed to have the opinion. I just don't agree with it. It's fine.
That's fine too. Anyway, so I mean, I think it comes down to how is Cincy going to respond to that game in August, because that's got to be on the top of their mind. That's got to be on the top of both sides' mind. For better or worse, it's kind of the cloud hanging over it, because that was a rough way to lose as the number 1 seed in the East at the time.
That way. of their 2 losses at home this season, one of them came against Columbus. One of them came against their biggest rival, and now their biggest
it wasn't like a squeaked by win. It was a dominant. So I think when you look at this, since he's going to have to respond heavily, I think playing at home is a huge advantage, especially the further this tournament goes. I feel like it's more of an advantage. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always feel like I finish my thoughts without like a concise closure.
It's okay. It's okay. You're just an open tank of thoughts. It's fine. Look, no. So if we're gonna take it from a Cincinnati point of view, right, which we should, at the end of the day, I do think the win over Philadelphia, excluding the shit around the goal, was a major performance, being down 2 of the best defensive players in the league in Nwodo and Miazga, right? Like, I think they showed their depth and their quality as a team. Now, am I beginning to be a little concerned that we haven't seen an MVP for performance from Lucho in about 2 games? Yeah. Am I beginning to be a little concerned that we haven't seen Brandon Vasquez really impact the game yet? Even Santi Arias hasn't really played because of his injury concerns, and I'm getting more concerns with Cincy, even though they keep showing up and they keep winning at the ending of the day. It's not that it's the cleanest performances, but they're also getting the job done. So I have to.
One of those teams that's very good, and no matter, they get the win, right? Like, in almost every scenario, they've been able to get the win. Whether it looks good or not is sort of irrelevant at the end of the day when you look back on a season, right? 20 wins 100%. On a season, 9 draws. They lost 5 times all season. So most of the time, they are able to just get the win, and it doesn't even matter how. Like, that Philly game wasn't glorious, we didn't look at that and go, oh my God, this is a team that's incredible, unbeatable. But they did win. Well, we just talked about the goal.
Yeah.
But
look, sometimes on the path to a trophy, a little luck.
You need a little luck.
A little luck is needed, for
Maybe
sure.
You need a lot of luck.
and look, and I feel like this Cincy team, there's something telling me, like, brain-wise, to like pick against them because of the shit that they're going through. But and Columbus is scoring in bunches, and Cucho's hot. Like, he might be the hottest player right now in Major League Soccer. Like, I get it. I've said a lot of positive about Columbus on this podcast, but I'm going Cincy. I'm going the Supporter Shield champs are bringing the bringing MLS Cup to their side of Ohio.
Before I say my pick, I do want to say that technically we are tied record-wise in the pick.
I did have a very bad showing in my Eastern Conference pick, Philly and Orlando.
But there's 3 games left, so we really got to if one of us is going to win this thing,
we got to make some picks, bold picks.
Which is good because I'm picking Columbus in this game. I think I have to ride with them because I picked them before and it worked for me. I also I think they, at least from these last couple games, are just always, it seems like, in their stride. Like, I think Wilfried Nancy is just proving each game how good of a manager he is. And I think regardless of what happens, we can honestly say he's one of the better in the league managers.
100%,
so I think Columbus,
if not the best.
Currently, yeah. I mean, he's in the top 3, right, at this point, with what he's been able to do. So I'm picking Columbus. I think their attack is, obviously, like I said, I think their attack is very good. I think it's I'll say it, I think it's the best attack that since he's going to have gone against.
And look, I'm going to say the same point that I said about all 4 Eastern Conference teams last week, because I still believe it. If you told me Cincy, Philly, Orlando, or Columbus were going to win MLS Cup, I wouldn't bat an eye. All 4 of those teams were 4 of the best teams in Major League Soccer. If you told me Cincy or Columbus win this game and go on and win MLS Cup, I agree with you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like really argue against that point that much. I think these are the best two teams left in the playoffs. I think these are probably the best two teams in Major League Soccer overall. So yeah, this is going to be a great game, and I can't wait to watch it.
I will say if Nick Hagglund didn't get injured for the rest of the playoffs, Miazga will be back for this game.
Yes.
And if Obi Nwodo isn't super hurt or 100%, I almost still think this would be a pretty competitive game. It's going to be competitive, right? It's
Either
a rivalry game. So I think with potentially those injuries or, definitely those injuries in one of those cases, I just think Columbus is at the point where, like I said last week with Philly against Cincinnati, where you can kind of not necessarily take Lucha out of the game, but you can game plan probably a little bit better against. I mean, I think Columbus is a better team at this point in game planning this. I think Philly actually did a pretty good job. They just ended up getting kind of screwed over.
But what Cincy's got on their side.
Hopefully no one's watching it.
Let's move on to the West. So let's talk Houston Dynamo. They end the Cinderella story run of Sporting Kansas City in a 1-0 win. We have our own VAR conversation here, and let's just get to it. 39th minute, a corner from Ache finds Franco Escobar in the box, who puts it past Tim Melia, 1-0 Houston. Literally only a few minutes later, Steve Clark gets beat in the box. I don't remember who it was on Sporting Kansas City, but they put a shot in, and center back Eric Svinchenko's on the line to clear it. VAR, is it a handball? Is his arm in an unnatural place? To be honest with you, this one is more not so clear and obvious to me than the call in Philly. I think, there's an argument that that's a natural arm motion. Again, personally, to me, we're not going to repeat the same conversation. I'll just say my point of, I think this was a handball. I think but I understand why VAR didn't overturn it, because there's, I guess, the argument that that's a natural arm motion. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm just saying.
I think it's. Oh man, I don't like talking about shit like this, because it's kind of like takes away from the fact that this was actually a pretty awesome performance. I think
it was
Dynamo.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that this one was a lot closer. Like, this was a difficult decision.
This was the harder call of the two.
By far. And I think it hits him high enough. And the more you watch it, and if you slow it down, right, like it couldn't look worse in 0.1 speed than live, right? Obviously, they have all those speeds, right? But to me, I mean, it hits him close to the chest, pretty high up. Sure, like, defenders are taught to, tuck their arms behind them. But where it hits him on his arm, I don't think would have mattered necessarily in that. Had he tucked his arms, like, you can't tuck your shoulder into your bicep necessarily all the way back. And that's sort of where it hit. And my point to you was the angle we're shown, we don't see where that's – did it get deflected? What – did it hit him?
You don't see the front shot of it.
Like, he's clearly going for the chest, right? Like, it's not like he went out with his arm, and it's not way out here. It is at his side. It just, there is, I think the biggest thing here is his arm is at his side, but you can see a gap between his arm and his body. And the gap looks bigger than maybe it is due to the angle.
Exactly.
And so everyone's going off, oh my God, there's this gap. So obviously he made himself way bigger with his arm. When in reality, I don't think he necessarily made himself way bigger with his arm to the point where that was a clear-cut handball. So I honestly leaned toward it not being a handball.
But that's why I'm saying and agreeing to your point fully, that this is the closer call. This is the tougher call. This is the not so clear and obvious. VAR is not going to overturn it. So I'm way more okay with this call than I am with the Philly Cincinnati call. And yes, to your point, it takes away from such great performances on Houston. Steve Clark put in a damn show. Ache, I mean, he got the assist, but he was fantastic in this one.
Franco said Hector Herrera to Carrasquilla is just an absurd connection. I think it was later in the game, and Herrera just pinged the ball just straight out
right to foot of Karaskia, and he just kind of started making a run at the back line. And that
So
is
good.
the stuff that's terrifying, right? Like when
It's so good.
any of these guys are running at your back line, it's scary. But it's like they'll ping it out there. Herrera obviously has just incredible ability to pass, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen it time and time again. He hits his guy. And like that midfield is very good. Like I think that midfield is
sick.
Arguably the best in the tournament left. I keep saying tournament, but I kind of want to say tournament.
It's a tournament.
It's a tournament.
Yeah, it's a tournament.
But yeah, I mean, I think like that. Yeah, Karaskia, I was impressed with. I think Hector Herrera, obviously, we're all impressed with, right? All the time.
I mean, literally, he's a best 11 for us. He's the best 11 for Major League Soccer. I mean, you know, the thing that I want to just point out is guys, veterans of this league who have been here before and won a ton of trophies before, showed out in this performance for Houston. Like obviously Franco Escobar getting the goal. You know, he's won a ton in Atlanta before. He won with LA.
Had a great game.
Artur, I mean, Artur's not turning into, he was at one point one of the best sixes in the league. And I think you're seeing that old Artur back. You know, and maybe that's Ache and Karaskia helping that, but you're seeing Artur be one of the best midfielders in the league.
Well, even I think it's clear that like when he has really good attackers and really good distributors in front of him, he's way more free to do what he is good at. And I think I think the Dynamo, at least this form of the Dynamo, is totally figuring out how to get the best out of each guy in their roles, right? Like I think they figured out the equation or whatever to get the best out of everyone on the field in order to succeed. And like, I mean, this I would argue was probably the most dominant performance of the knockout round. Or this round.
I guess so.
Maybe Columbus. I mean, dude, they controlled this game. Like it obviously ends 1-0. But I feel like Houston kind of just controlled it and was comfortable the whole way.
Yeah. No, and look, I don't disagree with you. You know, I think, again, a lot of that just comes from the vets around this team. It comes from the guys who have won in Major League Soccer, been around MLS. Like, it comes from the system. And, you know, we're not going to turn this into another Houston Dynamo. You know, we congratulate them for 40 years on this podcast because we've been doing that for since they won the Open Cup.
So much shit about them for so long. They deserve it.
Yes, and look, Ben Olsen has done a great job. Ache, best player on this team. Amin Bassi was an absolute, I think, underrated signing. Now looking at what he's done, I mean, you could look at Coco Karaskia, Artur, Franco Escobar, even Mikael, their young center back. Like, young center backs scare me playing them, and he has stepped up and he looks like he's like some 30-year-old center back veteran dude who's been around balling, right? Like there's Griffin Dorsey is turning into one of the best right wing backs in the league. Like it's incredible how Ben Olsen, whether you want to give it the credit to Ben Olsen, the team overall, Ache, whatever, that everyone in their positions, to your point, just seem like they're hitting that stride at that perfect time. And Houston wins and they're on to a Western Conference final.
Against who?
Against LAFC. Reigning MLS Cup champions, LAFC. They keep the back-to-back dream alive with a 1-0 win over the Seattle Sounders. Lone goal in this one. There's no VAR drama. At least I didn't see any VAR drama. But lone goal in this one came in the 30th minute. Timothy Tillman plays the ball on a counterattack moment to Dennis Bouanga. It was a very nice dummy from Christian Oliveira. You have to mention that because I think that allows Bouanga to have the space to do what he did. Bouanga burns Alex Roldan. Full speed, puts a shot past Fry. 1-0. Maxime Crepeau had 7 saves to keep LAFC in the win. I'd give Crepeau the bigger performance over Bouanga or over anyone else.
I mean, Crepeau had arguably one of the save of this round, right? Like when Jordan Morris gets in behind and is just sprinting at him, and he comes out and slides and gets a full hand outstretched on the ball,
trying to get chipped over him. Like that changed the entire course of this game.
Was that the 80th minute save? Because I know we had a save.
No, that was like the 13th minute or something.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Because that was when I was like, oh wow, that was a game-changing save. Because if that goes in, I mean,
Seattle up 1-0.
Look at the way this game played out. I mean, it probably plays out differently, right, if that goes in. But Seattle, like LAFC, seemed totally content with letting Seattle do whatever they wanted, almost.
I think. Look, Seattle had their opportunities early. To your point, Morris had an opportunity, and I think there was a few others. To be very honest, I think, though, at the end of the day, it took a special performance from Maxime Crepeau and net to really save the day, one. And look, I'm not trying to take away from this game. The game was fine. Like, Dennis Bouanga did his thing. He did golden boot things. He put the ball away. But I made this point on Twitter, and I want your opinion on Maxime Crepeau. I made an argument that I think without Maxime Crepeau, LAFC come nowhere near the success that they've had over the last 18 months to 2 years. I think there's an argument that if he doesn't make that red card saving play in MLS Cup last year that unfortunately broke his leg and had him out for the next few months, LAFC don't win MLS Cup, don't have that momentum behind winning MLS Cup last year. And then you lead months later to a Western Conference semifinal where they are now, and Maxime Crepeau, first of all, has had a great stretch since coming back from injury. And then second of all, I mean, he's now, I'm not going to say single-handedly, but is a very good reason why they're back to another Western Conference final. I think Maxime Crepeau is arguably the second most influential player on this roster.
I don't disagree. I mean, look at teams who have found a lot of success in the past. You've had very solid keepers in all of those teams, right? Andre Blake, Philly has been great. A lot of that, like Stephen Fry has honestly won MLS Cup on his own practically at times.
Game winners in net.
Eloy Room, another guy who just like there's a, I don't know, I'm probably forgetting 100 of them, but I feel like in almost all of these really good teams have a goalie who is going to be that difference maker when needed, right? Is he going to be that difference maker every game? He probably won't be asked to. But when he is, he comes up big. In like this game specifically, he came up massive in a performance where, I mean, I would say this was a bit of a weird performance for LAFC. I don't know if this is the norm that we're going to see, and I don't know if we're going to see it against Houston. But it felt to me like they know they have a guy like Dennis Bouanga who
can make magic.
Never gonna miss that goal. Like if you told me he missed that, I'd be like, yeah, what world are you living in, right? Like,
literally.
There's no chance. Like once he got that ball in behind, I was like, all right, that's a goal, and it was. Like he put it behind with conviction. Like it wasn't even close. So I think they know that they have a guy like that who. Give him an inch and he's scoring at this point. Like we beat it on the head last week about how he has 1 million goals this year. But I mean, that kind of is the point, right? Like when you have a guy like that, you don't need 35 chances. You need one, and he converts one, and he did it in this game. And then it put Seattle in a point where they needed to get a goal. And then you have a guy like Crepeau, which is how this started, right? And he came up massive. And I think that's the thing. Like when you need them, they come up huge, and they do it all the time.
And I think that's it's important to talk about both of them, right? Because Dennis Bouanga put a goal past. He took the opportunity, didn't miss it, didn't shank it like we've seen from other MLS attackers before in big moments. Against statistically the best defense in Major League Soccer in 2023. Seattle was the best defense in the league. Stephen Fry was insane. Ymar, great. Jackson Reagan, like they played very good defense. And Dennis Bouanga took the opportunity on the road, because we also have to mention that they were in Seattle,
right?
To win this game 1-0. And their road game against Vancouver in the last round of the playoffs. was a 1-0 win because of Dennis Bouanga. You know, like they're getting the job done on the road behind Bouanga. I just feel like defensively, I don't love this LAFC team, and I feel like Crepeau is going to have to continue to make magic. And it's like, I guess they're maybe banking on. There's only 2 games potentially left, Crepeau. Like
I think what they're banking on is outscoring their opponent, which in this game was clearly not the strategy. Because it didn't seem to me like they really went for it that hard.
They played it. They think they played it very smart against the good Sounders squad.
Well, and I think they realized once they got that goal that they could see out the game. I think they had the confidence to see out that game. But I don't think that's going to stay that way. So like, while Crepeau had to come up huge, even if he's not at that level, which was like 1-on-1 type performance almost.
Yeah, literally.
I think they'll be fine because it's another team that, like, I was saying last week they had 16 goals in 5 games or something. They obviously only scored 1 in this game, but it's still a team that can easily go out there and hit 4, right?
Especially at home, which we're going to see. And we'll talk about
like, as we go into that game, like, that's a huge difference, right? They just won in Seattle. Like, it's never been an easy place to win. It's never been easy to win on the road. It's never been easy to win on the road in Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. And
they saw a game where they gave Seattle a ton of possession. And that almost is more impressive that they did that away and still were able, against the grain almost, to come out of that with a win.
I mean, look, I still believe that this LAFC team can beat you in multiple ways, and I definitely feel like the game plan against Seattle was to counterattack their way into a victory, and it worked. I think when LAFC is playing at home, and again, we'll talk about the Western Conference Finals right now, they don't play for the counterattack. They'll come directly at you, and then they're gonna in just, I guess, put their influence into the game. They're going to score 100 goals. If you look at the scores for their games at home over the last few games, it's ridiculous how many goals they score at home. So it is the Western Conference Finals. We get the 2022 MLS Cup champions, LAFC, versus the 2023 U.S. Open Cup champions, Houston Dynamo. LAFC, you know, to Jason's point before, both LAFC and Houston, they've had really good records their last 5 games. They're both undefeated, some draws in there, whatever. LAFC, they do hold the all-time series record with 5 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, pretty close there. But this season, Houston does hold the series record with 2 wins in their 2 games. So Houston is undefeated this season.
LA has not scored against Houston this season.
No, they have not. And, you know, I don't know if you have the games pulled up. I don't know if Dennis Bouanga was playing in those games, but
let me pull it. One was on June 10th. Bouanga did play. He pulled off in the 84th minute. They lost 4-0 away. And then June 14th. Oh, no, that was June 11th. They played 3 days apart. Bouanga did not play at home against Houston in a 0-1 loss.
There you go.
He didn't get subbed on yet. He doesn't look like he got subbed on yet.
Bouanga has been playing a lot their last 5 games. We've mentioned it. We've talked about it. 7 goals and an assist in their last 5. Houston, I mean, look, they're getting the performances from the 2 guys we've said before, Hector Herrera, Coco Carrasquilla. They each have a goal, but really their creative and distribution numbers are the key here. Herrera has 3 assists in their last 5. Coco Carrasquilla has 2 assists in their last 5. I mean, LAFC is a very, very good home team. Houston have not been that good on the road. Let's also be very honest about that. Even
no one's been good on the road, right? Like, true. When is the last time we talked about a team and we're like, they were good on the road?
I guess my point that I want to start this off with is, if this game was in Houston, there's no doubt in my mind I'm picking Houston to win. I think playing in Texas, especially playing in Houston, is tough for any team to roll into. Not that LAFC doesn't have the same intimidation, but playing in Texas is just it's a fact of MLS history is a different state to play in. So if this game was in Houston, I'd have a different story, but or a different mindset. But this game in LA, a little bit different, and I think that's where my brain starts, I guess.
I think also, like, I just want to make sure I'm not crazy. Yeah, Houston's been at home already for all of these games, both of them, I guess, the last 2. LA was away for the Seattle one, obviously, and at home,
And then
I think, for Vancouver, right?
So LA was away for a Vancouver game, and then they were away against Seattle.
Oh, because they played multiple. Yeah,
Houston was away against RSL, and then that's it.
Yeah. So I almost feel like if you were equipped to play away, Houston would not be the team that I would be like, yeah, they're definitely ready to go into someone else's stadium after their last. What is that? That would be their last 2 games that they were home.
Yeah, last 2 games, but even
that's
game
like a month ago that they actually played away.
Exactly, and that game that they played away at RSL in these playoffs, which is crazy that it was weeks, potentially even a month ago, that it was a game that went into a PK shootout. It was a tie game. It's not like this was a definitive Houston road win or performance or anything like that, and they lost the game on the road. Like, so that's also the point to bring up,
Yeah.
So the away home to me matters heavily here, because I really love Houston. I love what Houston's done. I love Benny Ball. I love Ache. We've talked about it. I can keep going on and on. I think Houston's going to be fucking insane in 2024. I just unfortunately think their season ends in 2023. I think LAFC, Steve Cherundolo, Bouanga, I just think they know what needs to get done at this point of the season. They've proven it. They've proven it domestically that they can beat anyone in MLS on any given day. And I think at home, I think LAFC gets the job done behind, arguably, outside of Messi, the most talented player in Major League Soccer. And I don't know. I have faith in Bouanga and Cherundolo and this team getting the job done.
I think you forgot to mention Kellen Acosta in that,
Yeah.
I think just having a guy like that who's been in so many MLS games matters. But I'm also picking LAFC in this one. Unfortunately, we're agreeing. But my reasoning is just, like I said, kind of about the last game and recapping. Dennis Bouanga he needs one chance, and that's it. And that might be the difference. That was the difference. They might not need one chance. I mean, they might get more than one chance, right? And I'm confident he's probably, with any of these chances, putting away goals, because at this point, there's literally zero reason to doubt a guy who just cannot seem to stop scoring. And picking against him is hard because it's like you're saying, LAFC at home, and then you have a guy who pretty much scores every time the ball's at his feet. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would predict he gets a goal in this game, and then
I think it's an easy prediction.
What?
I think it's an easy prediction.
It's totally an easy prediction, and I'm not saying it as like a hot take. I'm saying it as like where that's already one goal for LAFC in my mind. Like, Houston needs a goal, and where's that going to come from? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think their midfield is probably better than LAFC's midfield, but I'm not totally confident that they can go into LA and walk away with a win. But like you said, like, this team is spraying onto the scene, right? Like, next year, I don't want to talk about next year because
we're talking
they might win, right? But
look, I think
I'm picking LAFC. I think they just need one chance, and that's it, and that's what could put the game away.
And I think that's the key point. I think overall, anything else, I think Houston is the type of team that will mess up that one opportunity. LAFC is the type of team that is going to take advantage of that opportunity. Though I think Houston can create a little bit more, but
I think we've seen one of the most lethal strikers we've ever seen.
Yes.
In MLS.
The other point that I just want to give LAFC some love with is Christian Oliveira. I put this out on Twitter during the game against Seattle. He is the Carlos Vela replacement. I mean, look, he's already a full Uruguay national team winger, and he's super young. He's a U22 initiative guy. You see so many great flashes and great moments and just intelligent plays from him that I feel like, I mean, LAFC hit another home run with the signing of Oliveira, and he's the type of guy that they're going to sell in a year or 2 years for multi-millions of dollars. Like, he could also be a potential game changer. I enjoy watching an intelligent young player do their thing, and he did that against Seattle, and he did that against Vancouver, and I think he's going to do that against Houston. So Oliveira is the only.
I think it's funny because we basically previewed this entire thing without even mentioning Vela, and despite like a rougher, he's been on a down season, but you still kind of have to mark him because he can still kind of do anything if you give him too much space. And so I think that just like, despite him not being at the peak of his powers that we once saw, like he still has that ability in him.
I think it's why we're seeing Vela play right now the false 9 for Trondolo. It's because, look, he's not going to get back. He's not going to do the defensive work at this point. But to your point,
drag out those defenders. He might.
Yeah, he can create.
We're behind for Bouanga.
Exactly. And I think that's why the false 9 almost works right now for him. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen the same goal scoring rate or the same creative rate that we've seen in the past, but at this point, you're not going to see that out of him anymore. Yeah. You're just hoping that between hopefully 2 more games, if I'm Steve Cherundolo, that if I need that one magic moment from Carlos Vela, if this is the last ride of his career, I'm going to get a magic moment from him. That has to be your hope. And I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think LAFC just has a kind of X factor kind of type player, so it's just like
100%.
You might. Oh God. Sorry, I had to cough. But yeah,
I worked up with that Vela. No, yeah. I think. Look, at the end of the day, I think these games are gonna be fun on both sides. Personally, I think these are the 4 best teams in Major League Soccer left. I don't really think there's an argument for anyone else, to be completely honest. And I'm not trying to end the show on a hot take. I'm just that's just my opinion there.
I mean, they're the last 4 for a reason, right?
Exactly. Look, and
it's not like we're like, whoa, how did this team get in? It's like, wow, we can very clearly see why this team got in.
These are 4 very good teams. We both picked LAFC to win the West over Houston. I picked Cincy over Columbus. You picked Columbus over Cincy in the East. And look, either way, MLS Cups headed to Ohio in a short amount of time, and we will be previewing MLS Cup, I think, next week. So that's crazy, and we'll have to dive into that a little bit more. But Jason, anything you want to end off with people as we are 78 minutes into this episode?
I mean, maybe we should just mention when these games are, just in case.
True. You
didn't pull it up, but
it's December. So I got it. It's December. Both games are Saturday, December 2nd. So this upcoming Saturday. Cincy is hosting Columbus at 6 p.m. at TQL Stadium, and then LAFC is hosting Houston at 6 p.m. Eastern. In my brain, everything's Eastern. LAFC is hosting the Houston Dynamo at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Honestly, most of the time when you just say a time, everyone kind of just assumes it's Eastern Time.
Because it's the best.
You probably could have gotten away with just saying a time. But anyways, it was 6 p.m. Eastern and 9:30.
9:30. Oh, whoa. Breaking news to end the episode. MLS suspends FC Cincinnati defender Matt Miazga.
For how many games? Just one game?
Cincinnati defender Matt Miazga suspended for 3 matches and issued an undisclosed fine for his
misconduct. What did he do? That's
following
way worse.
FC Cincinnati's match against the Red Bulls on November 4th. Additionally, Miazga will undergo behavioral assessment through substance abuse and behavioral health program and may petition for a reduction in suspension based on continued commitment and compliance with any recommended treatment programs. The suspension will be served during the remainder of FC Cincinnati's games during the Audi 2023 MLS Cup playoffs, and any remaining suspension served during the 2024 MLS regular season.
That's a bomb that they just dropped.
Am I allowed to change my pick?
I'll let you change your pick. That's info that you didn't have.
No, I'm rocking it. Okay. Cincinnati.
That's a big change.
Back to the
also another reason why you just gotta not be like that, Matt. Come on, dude. With that much on the line.
If you're listening at this point, credit to you. But if you want to hear more Matt Miazga conversation, go back to last week's episode. That is a major bombshell at the end, and I'm less confident in my Cincinnati pick, but I'm not changing. I'm sticking with it. Cincinnati all the way.
His for 3 games, it had to have been bad what he did.
I mean, he got the same suspension as.
That's what I was about to say. I was
Wagner.
about to say that was the same amount of games. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I guess he went into the refs room.
And even if Cincinnati wins, he's out for MLS Cup. So Matt Miazga.
He's out for the first game next season.
Yeah, if they go all the, I guess there's the chance that it gets reduced, like it
True.
said, but
I
whatever.
could see them getting it reduced to just this season.
Yeah, especially if they make MLS Cup taking the 2-game suspension 100%. But whatever. We'll talk about that at that point. That's it. That's how we're going to end it. Matt Miazga out for the playoffs.
What an end. What a finish.
MLS Aces Podcast. Subscribe, like, review on YouTube, any podcasting platform, Goals TV, whatever it is. Subscribe. Thank you guys for listening, and I'm gonna get my pick wrong. Bye.